Okay, guys, we are live. It's Friday night, and it's football is back. Premier League is back. That international football has absolutely killed me. The break has killed me. The break has broke me back. That's how bad it's been. Especially if you're an Ireland fan. But we got a few draws, I suppose. But big game of the weekend, of course. Leeds, Liverpool. I cannot. This is a mouth-watering tie. I've got two legends with me as usual. Keith at Eaton Ryan on Twitter, as usual. The backroom man. He's the man, the producer in the background.
I'm the
kit man.
Yeah.
No more than that. But Keith's with us as usual. And Ivan Jennings has come on. He's been on a few times, of course. I'm sure you all know who Ivan is. Top red, as they call him. Guys, before we get into the Leeds Liverpool stuff, I said it to Ivan a few minutes ago as well. I think we got to have a quick word about this fucking political football being kicked around by the Brazilian FA, FIFA. They're playing keepy-ups with fucking the Premier League and the English FA. I don't know if you know much about it, but I heard Klopp talking about it today. He wasn't happy, but it's out of his hands. It's actually out of the club's hands. I think the club's hands are tied with Alisson and with Fabinho. I know Bobby would have missed it, but he's injured anyway. So Alisson and Fabinho, I think Fabinho is a huge loss for away games, especially an Alisson as well. But what do you think about it, guys? Do you know much about it, or what do you think about it, Keith?
I think it's a fucking massive willy waving contest, a global willy waving football contest. That's it. We're bigger than you, or we're bigger than you, and ultimately, I suppose FIFA set the rules, don't they? So FIFA will set the rules across right the way down to EPL level. So they set the rules. So, but like. It's a fucking sham. It's an absolute sham. Like if the Brazilian FA can turn around and say, right, everyone bar Richarlison because his dad's on the board or fucking whatever the fuck is we're going to invoke the 5-day rule apart from him because he knows somebody. Like it's a fucking joke. It's a mockery of what's supposed to be a global organization with global governance for a single nation FA to be able to kind of exert that amount of pressure. Now, there is rules that are in place. So at what point in time do we say, okay, well, let's challenge these rules? And the rules are, it's a 3-0 loss. So if it's a 3-0 loss for us, right?
Yeah.
And Leeds play Rafinha, it's a 3-0 loss for them. So what happens? What happens?
A draw.
No, it's not that simple. I don't think
it's not simple. No, it's not.
I'd be amazed. I'd be amazed if the lads aren't cleared to play. I think there's probably been precedents being set, between FAs and between boards now, and maybe the Brazilian FA might feel a little bit hard done by, and they want to, lay a marker. Like it hasn't affected them. They've won all their games, so it hasn't affected them, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is, we've got a global fucking pandemic on, and if the lads had travelled, they'd have missed another 14 games or another 14 days after that.
Yeah.
So there's none of this makes sense. So I think I'd be amazed if tomorrow, there isn't some sort of saying, right, okay, we appreciate there's a problem. We appreciate where you've come from. You've got to appreciate where we've come from. And now let's see if we can do something for the next international break, which comes along in what?
3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks.
4 weeks time, is it?
Yeah.
And then we've got another one in November, right? So I suppose from the Brazilian FA, they want to make sure that, European clubs don't exert a certain degree of power, and say, right, at a whim, we can stop our lads going across due to whatever reasons, right? And there's no repercussions. So I can understand Brazilian FA, but, there has to be some common sense that has to be played at some point in time. Has to be some common sense.
I think it's bad PR. I think it's bad PR.
What?
For FIFA, it's bad PR for FIFA and the Brazilian FA. It's terrible PR. It's crap. Isn't it?
What happens when all these boys get involved is pretty much nobody does anything. Everyone's afraid to make the first move. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like we don't do anything and we let the rules take place. And if Liverpool don't play their lads and Leeds don't play their lads, well then it all fucking goes away.
I don't think it won't. I don't think it'll get to that point. And I think if you saw, did you see the guys coming onto the pitch the other night?
Oh, geez.
At the game,
the Argentina game.
You know what I mean?
It was that's ridiculous.
It was bizarre, right? So there's no way the Premier League are going to allow that to happen, right? So it'll be written down before 3:00 on Saturday or whatever the first game is.
For Sunday,
impact. Or even, but there's other Brazilians at risk as well here, right? The rule is clear. If you pull a player 5 days, that's no problem. But the principle in a global pandemic I think overrides the rules entirely because of the knock-on effect, not only of, we might not have Fabinho for whatever 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Contact tracing, sickness, families, health, bringing something back. This overrides the rules entirely, right? And if this isn't solved and the lads aren't allowed to play beforehand, bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
They've had fucking 18 months though to kind of go, do you know what, this is going to be an issue at some stage. You know, this pandemic didn't start last week. This pandemic started over a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. So you've had enough time to analyze and assess this to say, if it's a situation whereby, you know, you're in a red zone or the other country's in a red zone and lads can't travel before, it's almost like kind of saying, let them stay where they are, right? Like you're the guys who are pushing football. Like realistically, you should be kind of going, right, let's maybe not play football, but they're not going to do that. They're going to force the games, right? So it should be a scenario whereby if players are okay to travel between countries and there's none of that stuff involved, well then okay. But if there's a situation whereby one country is red or another country is red or whatever else, and there's something there that can't, it should almost be like you can't really call on those players at the moment due to the pandemic. End of fucking story. Common sense, right? But that's not it. Because there's fucking willy waving going on left, right, and fucking centre. And ultimately, it's the players who are going to suffer. And we can't expect the players to turn around and say, right, fuck off, Brazil, we're not going to play for you again. And I'm ending my international career, therefore this doesn't happen. They're not going to do that. Brazilian lads aren't going to do that.
I think we're now seeing as well, another thing, and it's bizarre, we're seeing the squashed nature now of games, right? So World Cup, European Championship, World Cup, and even the suggestion from FIFA.
Every 2 years. Every 2 years. What a joke.
Every 2 years. Like, what is going on, lads? Do you know what I mean? And then all behind, I think it was Busquets who came out and said, and Busquets is a top player, right? Yeah. Who's won the Champions League. He's won the Liga. He's done it with Spain. Class player. He's gone, lads, come on! What are you trying to do here? You're going to kill the players, and I've always
you kill the game. Simple as that.
I've always been a little bit skeptical when players are going too many games and blah blah blah. But you know, over the last couple of years, the Christmas games, all that kind of stuff, and now every year for a World Cup, like you're devaluing the whole concept of it. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
I heard Klopp.
Wenger would have been, I suppose, when he was his career, he would have been calling this kind of stuff out in terms of too much football, and he would have been all about player player kind of welfare and all that kind of stuff. Now he's gone into FIFA, got a little bit of power, right? He's now trying to make an agenda or a mandate or something for himself, and all of a sudden he kind of goes, right, do you know what I'm going to nail my colours on? I'm going to nail my colours on FA, World Cups every 2 fucking years. So, like, it's just like...
It's crazy. Klopp actually mentioned he was talking to Wenger. Wenger was at the Kirby training ground handing out awards last week, wasn't he? Klopp said today he was talking to him and some FIFA guy couldn't remember the FIFA guy's name. I couldn't remember his name. But it is. I think it's all money, lads.
Turned around at that stage, at that meeting, turned around, do you know what? I've got an idea. What do you think about this? We're going to do a fucking World Cup every 2 years. He did this. He said nothing about it. Think
about a World Cup every 2 years. Where do you have the European Championship? Do you throw it in the middle of that? I mean, it's a fucking joke.
I think it's a knee-jerk reaction on the back of COVID. And unfortunately, when we say COVID is over, that's a statement. But the actual practical implications of it ending are going to take 2 or 3 or 4 years to actually just bed in.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. International shouldn't be played in closed season, especially during a pandemic. It's been a crazy 18 months, lads. We all know about it, I suppose. There's no use going back over it. But a big organisation like FIFA and UEFA should know better, really, shouldn't they?
But you've got their own individuals. So UEFA's blue ribbons, tournaments are the Champions League and the European Championships, and FIFA have the World Cup. To be honest with you, it's a fucking pissing contest.
But like Keith, the practical thing should be the practical thing I think should be, let's get it down to the kind of base tax and build up, right? So national leagues, the Premier League, and then European competitions, and then national European competitions, and then World Cups. And grow it out that way. You need to get the core stuff working first instead of going, let's go mad on tournaments, because then everything's at risk. You know what I mean?
To be honest, I even think they made a bollocks of that National League thing, that Nations League. You know, that European. I think that's a lot of bollocks as well. That Nations League. I think they've ruined it. I love the old system where you say 5 teams in a group or 4 teams in a group, and you'd always get one top seed, like the Champions League draw, you know, and you'd get other lower teams and you'd be fighting against each other. Now it's all.
But I think if we get back to the Premier, and I mean this for every country, get back to your national league in terms of the Premier League and the Championship and whatever, get them running well, get the fans back in the stadium, maybe even forgo a European season. I know that's hard to say, but just you need to do it slowly and build and build and build, and possibly you forgo a European Championships or a World Cup or whatever. But it needs to be small steps to get it back, to do it properly, instead of this every 2 years or every year. Yeah. It's just bananas. That's bananas.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. As Liz Golden said, it's all about the Benjamin Franklins, and I think Liz from Florida, it absolutely is.
So let's just play devil's advocate here for a second and say, right, nothing happens tomorrow, right? And there's no agreement in terms of, you know, okay, let's just write this one off and say, right, okay, we'll revoke the invoke, right, and say, right, let the lads play this weekend, and we work on something towards. Let's just say that doesn't happen, and we get to a stage on Saturday evening, and obviously, like, we're playing Sunday, so Klopp has to make decisions tomorrow. He's not going to be making a decision Sunday morning. Like, he might be working on some stuff tomorrow in terms of formations and systems. We can't. It's not like us turning up like half an hour before the game, and some lad doesn't turn up, and we kind of go, right, we have to move a lad into centre half and move a lad there. Like, it's a little bit more complex than that. So
don't play them.
It doesn't happen.
Don't play them.
Yeah.
Put Kelleher in goal.
Yeah.
Play the 3 lads. Take him out.
I'd say he's made the decision today,
clean.
lads. I'd say he's made the decision today. I think his team's picked today.
I'd say so.
And even if it's reversed, he's not going to change it on Saturday, is he?
So
I think they're gone.
At 6 o'clock on Sunday, he'll go, whatever. We won the game 3-1. Stick your rules. Hopefully. I don't care. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There's no way he's going to put that at risk. Can you imagine?
But it leads us perfectly on, because now we're going to talk about the actual game on Sunday at 4:30 at Elland Road, which, to be fair, I'm looking forward to. I always like playing Leeds. They give you a game. They're a proper club. The fans, that Elland Road's going to be a full ground. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be an unbelievable game. What a game to be at. But we're presuming then that we won't have Alisson, we won't have Fabinho. They're not there. Firmino's injured anyway. So what do you think Klopp will do? His 11. What 11 are you picking now tomorrow or for Sunday? That obviously those boys aren't there. What 11 would you put out against a good Elland Road, like a good Leeds side?
I think there's only 2 changes, and it's the keeper, and Kelleher comes in.
Yeah. And
then in the midfield, you're just taking Fabinho out, and you have a choice there. Is it Keita, Henderson, and Elliott,
Thiago,
or Thiago and and Thiago? So you have a choice, and you know what I think?
You've got to play a 6, so you have to play a 6.
So you play Henderson at 6.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So then you've got to play somebody on the right and somebody on the left. And I wouldn't be comfortable playing Keita. I wouldn't be comfortable playing Henderson with Keita on the right and maybe Elliott on the left.
Oh no, I wouldn't switch. Like, if Elliott's playing, he's playing on the right. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You know. But I think I'm not worried about that. I'm like, they're all playing well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal. Like, the keeper swap isn't a big deal. It's not. And the 3 in midfield, losing Fabinho for 1 game, like, it was a mistake playing Henderson on the left side of the midfield last week. Put him back in at 6 or put him on the right side. You're not going to do that if you want to play Elliott. I actually think we're fine. I don't think it's a big deal.
No, I don't think we don't have options, to be honest with you. I don't think that's the case at all. And, you know, you've got a lot of players. You know, you've got Thiago coming back in now. He's got a lot more time as well. So do you maybe pop him in there? Maybe play him at 6 and put Henderson on the right, okay? And then look to see whatever you want to do on the left hand side.
My only thing, Keith,
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. I'd be more worried about starting Adrian rather than fucking Kelleher, if I'm being completely honest, right?
No.
That would be my only concern. Otherwise, I think we have options, to be honest with you. So I think that's absolutely fine.
I think your point on Thiago, and we've talked about this a few times, and I've certainly pushed it. I don't like him that deep. I don't like him as a 6. Not for us. It's just too slow. My preference is, and I thought this would happen when we got back. No, Henderson's fine as a 6. Thiago's a 6 to me. It's too slow that deep. I'd be pushing him forward into the next 2, or even further forward again into the 3 behind a 1.
So give me your 3. Give me your 3 in the middle. I mean, the defense is the defense. The front 3 are probably the front.
For me, it's Keita, Henderson, and Harvey.
Harvey, you're starting Elliott.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
Okay. I'm asking you. I mean, I had a great podcast today with Neil Jones talking on Ken 7 with Gavin, and they were talking about Elliott. That I was a little surprised he started against Chelsea, to be fair. I don't know if you were surprised or not.
No.
Just a big game like that. Now, he didn't do anything wrong in the game. Away at Leeds is a little bit different, but I think Klopp has huge confidence in this boy. I wouldn't be surprised if he started tomorrow.
I think he'll start him. To see the game, like the Burnley game where he got kicked and kicked and kicked and kicked, and he stood up and he stood up and he stood up. That year with Blackburn has done him the world of good, and he doesn't look out of place, and he demands the ball, and he's doing little tricks. He's getting on his chest. He's flicking over players. He is a player. He is a player.
Absolutely. Well, Keith, would you go with Elliott? Would you go with Naby and Hendo? Are you throwing Thiago in there?
No, I'm not, to be honest with you. To be honest, I'd be absolutely happy with that. As I said, I think we've options, to be honest with you. I'm not worried about midfield. I'm not worried about midfield at all, to be honest with you. I think we've options right the way across midfield. So whatever way he thinks is the best way to do it, to be honest with you, whether he plays Elliott, whether he even decides, I don't know, is Milner fit? It feels like a
possibly. Yeah.
Do you know what? I have Milner starting because he's an ex-Leeds boy. You know that? Yeah. I have Milner, I have Henderson, and I have Keita.
Yeah.
A real tight midfield, away from home. You know?
Yeah, I have one question on Milner, right? And this is what sticks for me. And I was curious the first game when he played, he's a great player, and he's a Premiership winner with 2 clubs and European champion, blah blah, smashing footballer. But when you start Milner as a fullback or somewhere in midfield, I think you're making a statement to say, Jamie, you're better than what I currently have there. And I think that's for the players that are trying to get into the team, you're kind of going, he thinks he's better than me, and he's 37. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's good as well, isn't it? I want to do better. I want to do better. I mean,
I don't know. You know,
I don't think Klopp looks at it like that, though, does he? He picks players for games, and that's it. He doesn't even think twice about it.
I'll throw something else there, right? Because this game almost feels like the start of the season. It feels like it's an opening game for the season to me, right? Because it's like we've had a couple of games, grand, right? It almost feels a bit almost like a pre-season run of games, and then we've had this international break, and now we've got this bank of how many games? You've got a bank of 7 games coming in with Champions League and all the rest. So
brilliant.
Let's not get away. Let's not lose, the thinking in terms of we have to navigate our way through a series of games now up until the tail end, which is City at the tail end of this group of games at the end of next month, right? At the end of this month. Sorry, the end of this month. Where we've got City, we've got 7 games in 20. We've got 7 games in 21 days, have we?
Something like that. Yeah.
Game every 3 days.
There's a lot of games.
So there's going to be a degree of game management, I suppose, that's going to come into play over the next. But
not for the first game, right? And
no. That's what I'm saying to you. So this one almost feels like it's the start. So basically the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think it will be a madness if he goes a little bit more away from home, a little bit more reserved in the middle of the park. Maybe Elliott might lose out on this one against a Leeds side, because if they get their tails up, they're going to be strong.
Yeah.
I think our defense is probably going to be the differentiator. If we can keep them fairly quiet, they're going to give us chances.
I think the midfield, Keith, wins this. I think it's a midfield battle.
I actually think it's going to be a chance conversion.
Take your chances. We'll have a quick word about Leeds now in a minute, who the danger men are. But I think if you pick the right midfield, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Our defence will be more or less our defence, won't it? We have no choice to pay the front three. The front three, Bobby's out injured, and we haven't got much on the bench. I'm just a little bit worried about if we don't get that goal, say after the hour, say 60, 65 minutes. Who do we have off the bench?
Yeah, I
get a goal. That's what I'm worried about.
I think this game will be well in terms of sorted out by 60 minutes, to be honest with you.
I hope so.
The way they played against United. They were in the game against. They were well in the game against United. Loads of different stages of that match, and just got cut open left, right, and centre. United took their chances. Their chances. They will give us chances, and if we convert those chances,
and there's still some players because Keith,
Rafinha,
spot on there.
He's Brazilian. Rafinha.
But I mean, I think they were missing the centre half against United and somebody else. And when they conceded against United, they just went again and they conceded, and then they went again and conceded. Do you know what I mean? They were just lacking that kind of bottle.
But as Keith said, they were in the game. They had chances.
They had chances. They had chances.
They
scored those chances. A different game. Didn't convert, but United converted.
Yeah.
So any of the chances they had, they convert. So I think they will give us chances. I think they'll give us chances. I think it's going to be up to us now to put those chances away.
But you're bang on with the 7 games in 21 days. It's funny, like with the Milan game coming up as well. I know we're skipping ahead. Like they were in the 4th pot, you know. So I wonder what way Klopp is thinking about the team that I put out there, because we've got Palace next weekend, and you kind of go, that's a dodgy enough one, you know.
Then we've Norwich. We have a rest week.
4-3 against Palace for the last 2 seasons, right? So we conceded a lot of goals against them, you know. And I'm going to the game. I can't wait. So you're bang on. It's what do I pick? But the one thing I would say, and this is the best thing you can say, we've got our defense back. We are solid.
Yeah,
we are solid.
Yeah. Plus, we've got options on the bench, the likes of Gomez, and we've got Kanate as well there. You know,
who hasn't even played yet.
No, but he's a nice option, isn't he?
Oh, stop. Brilliant.
I mean, we're talking about options here, lads. Last year, we know there was no bleeding options. We had no options.
I can see him making changes for the Milan game during the week, and I can see
Kanate probably start there. Exactly. Yeah. We could talk about that one maybe Monday, but
it's a big call.
Well, it's a big call. But listen, I just think, who do you think on Leeds? Who's impressed you? Even last year for Leeds, and who's the danger man? For me, I think your man Calvin Phillips, the England international, he's come on unbelievable. In the last year even, I didn't even know who he was up until last year. And for me, in midfield, if we can keep him quiet, I know they've got Bamford up front. I think Rafinha's out because he's Brazilian. There's an issue there with him as well. So I think Phillips, for me, is the danger man. Who would you think, Ivan?
I'd agree. And I probably wouldn't call out an individual. What I love about them, and they remind me of Liverpool probably from...
they're a team. They're a proper team.
Right?
Yeah.
They're a team.
Yeah.
But where they're exposed is when it's not working. Do you remember when we just kept going, and then we concede? We never had a plan B. They don't have that plan B. They don't know how to defend the lead. They don't know how to sit back or just slow down. They just keep going. And on great days, that's brilliant, and they're going to beat teams 3 and 4-0. On bad days, they're going to lose like they did against United 4 or 5-1. They have some really good players. I like your man Bamford, and I'd love that type of player as an option in our squad. Just to
what I heard Klopp looked at him last year. Did you hear that?
Yeah. No, I didn't. Yeah.
Looked at him. Yeah.
Just someone who's he's not going to do a whole lot of running. He can hold the ball up. He's always going to be in the box.
He's a target man, isn't he? He's a target man.
Yeah.
And he's an upgrade on Origi, basically, which is what we needed.
I'd agree. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So, Keith, what would you think, Leeds? Who's the man that pulls all the fucking, does all? I think Phillips is pivotal to them, the way they play. Harrison's good as well, yeah?
Yeah, I think Harrison's a good player, to be honest with you. I think they're a really good side when they get their tails up, to be honest with you. If they get their tails up at all, and listen, like, you know what a Leeds crowd is going to be like. Like, if we give them an inch whatsoever, and their tails are up, they're going to, they're going to be difficult. They're going to be difficult to play against, to be honest with you. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking more kind of, Klopp coming into big away games in terms of being a little bit more protective, Klopp protective as opposed to Klopp ambitious in these kind of games. And I think if we've got a solid, foundation out there in terms of our back 4, our middle 3, it's almost like saying, right, our front 3 are good enough to go and win the game if we keep it nice and tight. And it feels a little bit like that. But listen, you never know what's going to happen on the day in terms of what team turns up, to be honest with you.
I mean, if they get an early goal, their tails are up, full ground, different game,
tails up, right? They start passing the ball around. They're going to be difficult, to be honest with you. They're going to be difficult to play against. So,
I'm expecting it a hard game. I'm expecting a tough game. You know what I mean? There won't be much in this game.
What I feel, and this sounds a bit odd, it sounds like if you took COVID out of the whole discussion, I feel like we're back at the start of that season when we had just won the Champions League and we had finished second. It's still so positive. And you look at the squad and we talk about we haven't bought players and that we haven't added to the squad. We actually have added to the squad, and the team and squad that's won the league. we're in a really good place. We really are.
What do you think of all the negativity in the last? I've never seen it so negative. Now, I didn't get your views on FSG or on the owners, and just the whole negativity around the bleeding team. Like this team, I still think though, lads, the key is to stay fit. We need the spine to stay fit, and I think
of course we do. Right,
we'll have a good season. What do you think? What do you think of the FSG? We know the policy, but we brought in Canate. That was it. Did you think we needed more though? Did you think we needed a forward?
So you'd always say that we need to, when you're ahead, you buy, right? So if I've one criticism, get another striker in, and I'd leave it at that. And I'm not going to throw any more stones. You need another striker in because of the age profile of those three lads, right?
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Now, I'm hoping there's some sort of a plan there, that they've something lined up for January or there's something lined up for the summer. And we were nearly liquidated 4 years ago, right? And we won the Champions League and the league and the World Cup and blah, blah, blah. You can't throw stones. The ground is amazing. Match day in Liverpool is amazing. You cannot criticize the owners. You can't. They made a couple of little bloopers with the Super League and stuff like that, and the payments to
the furlough.
But after that, like, you're being really greedy if you want us to be spending 200 and 300 million every transfer. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I think you hit it on the head. I did a podcast last week on another show, and I mentioned that Liverpool, I think we've missed a trick in the last two transfer windows, and I'll tell you why. As you just said, age profile. The age, every year it goes up, obviously, by a year. But we're letting it go up. And every year we're not adding where we should be adding in key areas. And that just puts more pressure on the other transfer windows upcoming. You know what I mean? If we would have added one or two more players, that would have took less pressure on next year instead of adding 3 or 4. You know what I mean?
They've run this whole plan in the States before, right? So they don't tell me they're not going into January or the summer without a plan, other than they're walking away, because that's the only other option, right?
Yeah.
They have to have, if they're staying here long term, they have to have a plan for January and the summer. It's as simple as that. They have to.
Yeah. Keith, what do you think?
If they're making big noises, right, and there's nothing to prove, there's been nothing over the last 10 years to prove that they do anything other than that. If they're starting to make big noises and you start to see some stuff coming out in terms of ELLAND potentially, or a Bellingham, right? That's one of the lads going.
That looks like Bellingham looks more realistic than ELLAND.
If Salah drags on and Salah drags on and Salah drags on, you can see something happening there. I'll tell you that much now for nothing, right?
Oh yeah, well, only 2 years left.
Yeah, I know.
He's 29.
He signs, right? It's different.
Salah's going to sign. There's no way Salah's not going to sign.
Yeah.
Because
so
you're not going to sell him on. You can't sell him on.
If he signs, my big concern is the same. My big concern is the same as Ivan's. Is that the job is getting bigger and bigger, right? We're all looking at the team now at the moment, saying, right, we're looking at Henderson. You have to look at Thiago. You've got to look at Van Dijk, right? He's just on 30. You've got to look at Bobby. You've got to start looking at Salah, and you've got to start looking at Mane, right? And that there are two very big windows coming down, and you're looking at $250 million windows to start replacing those lads.
That's why I'm saying
what you're looking at. The
they've
longer
missed
you leave
2
it,
windows, lads.
And the more you leave it, the closer you're getting towards Klopp going.
That's it,
right? So you don't have that pull anymore with Klopp not being there, right? So I think there's something. There must be something going on there behind. Other than that, next summer now becomes fucking massive. And there's no way they can't go left or right. There's no wriggle room with FSG next summer whatsoever, because they've decided not to do it this summer. Now, maybe there's really good reasons why they've decided not to do it this summer, based on availability of players, based on discussions, based on this, based on that we are not privy to, and never been privy to, right? But we would have assumed after the big fuck up this year and the fuck up the year beforehand that they would have dipped their hands in their pockets. And they've never dipped their hands in their pockets, by the way.
But you're caught. Okay,
it's been 100 and something million they've actually put their hand in their pocket for, right? Other than that, it's all being self-funded by the club. Now, by the way, that is admirable. It's admirable. And you've got to take your hat off for it in terms of us competing against these sides, winning what we've won, having the team that we have. mostly down to Klopp and mostly down to Michael Edwards and whoever Michael Edwards has in his back staff as his
Julian
staff.
Brand, yeah.
Absolutely amazing, right? And we're a well-run club and we're going in the right direction. But at some point in time, you've got to go fucking balls out and say, right, this is where we are. And because they've not really done it over the last couple of seasons, next summer
keeps going on. Just goes on to the next season. Puts more pressure.
You're looking at a Chelsea, Man City type investment next season, and probably the following season thereafter, right? To make sure we're competitive. That's pretty much what it looks like, to be honest with you. And are they going to be able to do that? So
yeah.
And if they don't sell Salah, there's no more crown jewels other than Salah to sell. To be honest with you,
Salah's the world icon. The only world sort of star we have. Really,
Mane could have been there, but Mane's fallen off the edge of a cliff over the last 18 months. There's no point in saying he's not. No. So he could have been that player, but he's not been that player. So therefore, what's going to fund this? Somebody's going to have to put their hand in the pocket. To be honest with you, and forget about FFP. You can fucking bin that off now because it means nothing.
Yeah,
it's precedent set in terms of it means nothing. You're not going to be hauled across hot coals for decisions made that contravene FFP because there's a precedent set there with clubs all around Europe. So fuck that off completely, right?
Listen,
so that's it. So they've actually pincer movement themselves into having to make some really big calls next season, right? I still think we're good enough to win the league this year. Just to get back to your original point,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm very positive. That team, if we get that team clicking, is still the best team in the league. It's still the best team in the league, and that's not me just talking about it. To be honest with you, because it's the same people, and that's same people pissed the league year before last. When all things being equal, and got very close to winning the league before bar a point and 2 Champions League finals. Yeah. The nucleus of that side is still there.
Absolutely,
and we're good enough.
Look at City, right? They bought one player in. I know he's 100 million, Grealish. I still don't think he's a £100 million player, but anyway, he's a good player. They brought him in. They've missed Aguero. Aguero's gone. That's probably their best striker. I still don't think they've got anybody to do what he could do. So you could say they went up and went down, but they're probably around the same city. Then you've Chelsea. Chelsea brought in Lukaku. He will score goals. I mean, Werner I don't know what happened with Werner, but he just won't do it, will he? Maybe we dodged the bullet there and got Jota instead. And out of all the window, you have to say, even though I hate them, have done the best in the window. They've strengthened at the back with Varane. They've got young Sancho, who, eventually when his blood's into the team, will make a difference for them. Whether he's worth that money or not, that's the question. And Ronaldo, he's 36, but I guarantee you he will get goals. There's no... I mean, we've seen what he did against Ireland for Portugal. Wasn't even in the game. Got 2 unbelievable bleeding headers. So you'd have to say, out of the top 4, United have strengthened in areas they needed to.
Yeah. So
I just think we missed the trick with a striker.
I think Ronaldo will get goals. I think
he'll get goals, Keith. He'll get goals.
No, I think he'll get goals, but he'll get goals, right? Like if you cut out the supply into that, we didn't cut out the supply list, and that's I'm not going to talk about Ireland, to be honest with you, for too long. But we made a substitution. We made a substitution in that match and brought on James McLean, right? And James McLean is not renowned for cutting out crosses from, and they scored 2 goals from the exact same position, from the exact same substitution that was made, all because we didn't cut out the ball into the box. And if you get to the boy line and put long lofting balls into the box, the fucker can jump as high as a house. He's going to score goals, right?
Van Dijk's going
to
knock him out there,
brutal.
Yeah,
he was brutal. He did nothing else in the game. But if he scored 2 goals, he will get them 15 goals a season.
He will.
With the right supply. Yeah. Now, because he's going to be on penalties and free kicks. So he will get them 15 goals a season. But he's not adding 15 more goals than somebody else would have got. That's my point with him.
And I would look at the individual teams, right? So I'd be most worried immediately about Chelsea, because if they click, they could be incredible, but they still have Abramovich as the owner. And if they go through 5-6 games, not good.
Tuchel will be fucked out the door.
It could be fucked out. That's the reality of it, right? Yeah. That's where it's so brittle for them, Not worried about United. I think Varane's a smashing player. He's going to come in against the likes of Wood and Calvert-Lewin and Kane,
different
and they're going to knock him about. He's not going to. He'll be injured.
He's a luxury player, though. He's a luxury player. He is a good player now. I will give him that.
I think so. I'd much prefer us that we got Konate, somebody physically can stand up to players. Man City, massive squad. But again, are they going to click? They've already dropped points. And with us, I think we play a high-risk game, both on the pitch and off the pitch, in terms of the recruitment. And if it clicks...
High reward if it clicks.
High reward.
Reward, yeah.
And this is part of it. And I tweeted today, right? This is the ride that we're on. I love it. Now, I'd love 10 more players, but I'll happily go into a game on a Saturday where I go, oh, I don't know. But this is it. They're not gonna throw millions at players. They're just not. It's not how they work.
Yeah. Amy Kelly's saying there.
I do think the more we go on, though, the more, so this side will have to evolve, right? And there probably should have been another league in us. And I think last year there should have been a league in us. And I think there probably could have been another Champions League in this side. And the reason it's not is because we didn't invest at times where we could have invested.
But Keith, when you get to a final and lose, that can't be considered a failure. When you finish 2 points behind the winners, that can't be considered a failure, right? And to my first point on this, to my first point, if these guys are staying around and they have a business model, they've a plan there. Otherwise, they're walking away, or we're missing something. Do you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah. And I agree with you, right? But when we look at last season, and remember last season, middle of January, we're top of the league. And we fell off a cliff for two reasons. Number one, obviously, we were mixing and matching and we didn't have a defender to go in. But our goals fell off a cliff as well, right? And when you look at the top sides around Europe, whether it's, the top spending sides around Europe, let's just say, right? Whether it's a Real Madrid or a PSG or a Man City, when they get themselves into that situation, they just fucking go out and buy, because it's all about trophies and it's not about success. Yeah. And it's not all about sustainability for those guys. So we just need to say, right, are we happy enough to be the winning sustainable model whereby we are the fucking poster boys for world football because we've got a fucking sustainable model and we can still fucking do it because we've got Klopp as our manager, right? Now, Klopp goes, we're not fucking doing that. We're not fucking doing that. We're never doing that, right? So
my only counter to it would be on the goals, and unfortunately it does roll back to Van Dijk was injured.
Yeah,
Henderson goes back. You get rid of the function in midfield. You slow it down. The boys don't get that extra second up front. They don't score. I'm simplifying it. I don't just think the lads had a bad run of form up front. I think. I do.
What about Mane? What do you think of Mane? Mane's dropped off the cliff.
You look at the chance conversion, lads. We were still creating more chances than fucking City. We were still creating more chances than other teams at the top of the league, than Manchester United. To be honest with you, we literally weren't converting. We weren't converting. There were snapshots, shots not being. So like we didn't fall off the edge of a cliff in terms of our chance conversion. Our XG, whatever, most matches were 3, 4, fucking whatever. We just weren't literally just fucking converting them. It's as simple as that. So that the goal scoring fell off the edge of a cliff, and we persisted with roughly the same front three for almost 4 or 5 seasons. It's unheard of across Europe where any club at the top of the league has persisted with those lads. Now, listen, I'm not saying we should have or we shouldn't, but I'm just thinking at some point in time you've got to refresh and move it up.
It has to change. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. It has to change at some point. My point is, if they are here and they have a model, there has to be a plan. And I don't know if it's Jude Bellingham or Haaland or this lad Ademi that was linked today. I don't know. Yeah. And I personally don't really mind because they've been so good in the decisions that they've made. But they're either walking away or they've a plan. That's my simple hope.
Listen, I suppose I kind of do a little bit in business and kind of I see companies kind of, what happens when they're being set up for sales and all that kind of stuff. And you look at all the lads who've been let go this year or moved on in terms of wage bills. We have invested in the stand. We're doing some more investment in the stand. We're building up our assets left, right, and centre.
Salaries,
but we're protecting our assets from a salary perspective. We're protecting our prize assets. Our crown jewels are all being protected. We're building up our match day revenues. Boom, 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 boom. And we're taking a lot of the dead weight and we're keeping the squad nice. Although we've got the second highest wage bill in the league, it's all around their crown jewels. it does feel to me that we are not far off an optimum in terms of a flip, to be honest with you.
So why do you guys think Salah hasn't signed? But he's only 2 years left.
I just think it's
you don't want to let that go to next year. You don't want to let it go to next year.
I think he will sign because I don't think his resale value is that much at his age. I can't.
He's 29. He's 29.
So he's not Ronaldo, right? And I know his return has been better, but his profile, he's not the same. Madrid aren't going to pay 300 million for, or 200 or 100.
No. He's probably, I'd say, well, you might, if it was sold today, if the window was open, you might get 100 for him.
I'd say he'd be lucky to get 100 million.
The older he gets now, next year he's 30.
I'd say he'd be lucky. I'd say, 80, honestly, maybe. I think he'll stay with the club, and there's another 2 or 3 years with him, and then he's off to the States or maybe off to Italy or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't see him going somewhere.
He's an absolute machine.
I hope he stays. Don't get me wrong. I hope he bleeding stays. Salah's probably
like the nick he's in is good enough.
He's never injured, lads. He's never injured.
Yeah.
You know,
I think when you look back, and I know when you're comparing against Shearer, Henry, Rooney, and Ronaldo comes in, he's 10 times better than Ronaldo. 10 times better than Ronaldo. You know, in terms of his goals and his assists, he'll go down in legendary terms for Liverpool. He really will.
Yeah. Now listen, my quick one on FSG, right? For me, they've done more good than bad, and to be honest, that's good for owners. Let's be real. We're talking about the stadium being done up, the Anfield Road end now at the moment, and they're even going to do more to that ground apparently around the area. The Kirby, the new training ground, one of the best training grounds in Europe. As you said, we've tied down the spine to long-term contracts. We got rid of some of the players in the summer that we just didn't need. You know what I mean? We've got a very good young lads coming up through as well. In the under 21s as well, some great players there.
Just some
things. Look, just before I go, things are actually rosy in the garden. Yeah. I know everybody on Twitter and in TikTok land, whatever you want to call them, are negative, and there's just too much of it.
Yeah, you're
just got to get behind the team. Get behind the bleeding team.
The world we live in it's all about consumers, and I want to, if I wanted, I pay for it now. Yeah. And that's it. It doesn't work like that, you know. And to me, I would go back to match day in Liverpool and how they've transformed that into an absolute racket money-wise. Food, sponsorship, gear,
the superstore.
It's unreal. They've made, and they've got girls and mums and grannies and granddads and everybody, and people are there 6 hours before and 2 and 3 hours after.
It's safe. It's actually safe. It's safe.
Yeah, it's safe. So
there's a couple of points there being made just in terms of the club maybe leveraging off infrastructure spend off the back of the club itself. I'm absolutely okay with that, to be honest with you. I think that's right and proper, to be honest with you, that you leverage off investments in Kirby, AXA, stand development. I think all that stuff should come off revenues generated from the club itself. I'm absolutely okay with that, and I think that's proper business, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Where I start to fall down is that they don't seem to understand the effect that a marquee signing has on the club, right? In terms of the lift it gives, the fan base, the team, the whole lot. It's too business-like for me, right? United have gone ahead. I think United still understand, even though they're $500 million in debt, they still understand the importance of these kinds of signings and what it does to the club, what it does to the players around them. There's some football decisions being made, right? Now, I don't think we do that. I think we do everything off the back of there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of emotion made in terms of our decisions. It's all, good business sense. Sometimes football's not about that, it's not about that.
You're spot on.
It's and the last couple of marquee signings we made were off the back of revenues that were brought in from somebody else's sale, who was a marquee player.
Coutinho, we got Alisson. We got Fabinho and Van Dijk.
Someone just put their hand in their pocket and say, right, we're going to just go fucking balls out for this lad, and it's going to be fantastic. Like even, the last day fucking Balotelli signings or the Andy Carroll signings, they just created somewhere and it didn't work out, right?
You're spot on.
There's no risk. There's no risk.
What it does, it just gives everybody a lift. As
we say, the FSG don't play dice, throwing the dice or throwing the poker cards. They just don't play poker.
And the reverse of that was, and we talked about this on a couple of weeks ago, was the conversation around Henderson's contract.
Yeah.
There was no emotion there. Now, I know he signed, but at the time it was age profile, salary.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's the captain. I don't care that he lifts
the ticking the boxes or X in the boxes. That's what it is.
That kind of
into the algorithm
what I'm
or not?
saying, because he shouldn't have probably got that deal in FSG's model. He probably shouldn't have got that.
No,
you know, so,
that was your emotion coming out there, Keith. There's your emotion.
That was probably a reaction of somebody social listening and saying, "Oh, we better go ahead and do this now." It's the same thing with furlough and the same thing with the Super League. They're listening to the fan base, right? They're kind of going, right, we've got to roll back on this. They've rolled back on Henderson. Maybe they've made a different decision. Rolled back on Furlough, rolled back on that. But they're still not willing to go ahead and make that investment. Now, we're throwing an awful lot of shit at FSG. Now, maybe Klopp has a huge amount to say in relation to this as well, in terms of the profile of the player he wants coming through. You know, so we can't just label them. You know,
that's the thing I do always say. Does Klopp want these players you see on TikTok land that we see? Does Klopp even want them? He probably doesn't. Klopp likes a nice tight unit. He likes his nice little group. Everyone he can trust like his sons. That's the way he
wants hard working, no egos.
You've got to have a DNA profile to get into Liverpool, don't you? The profile has to be absolutely spot on to get in. That's why we've been so good in the market. That's why we've been so good.
Yeah.
That's why.
Sometimes you've got to rip that up and kind of go, right, you know, let's bring in somebody now who's going to get the heartbeat up. Let's bring in somebody now who's going to get the fan base up and running.
Yeah,
let's bring in somebody who's going to challenge the front three.
You might be right. You know, when you look at, like, Alisson was one of those, Van Dijk was one of those. I don't think Bellingham, as good as he is, would be one of those. He'd be great. Haaland would be one of those.
Oh, Haaland's one of them. Absolutely. Jeez, whoever gets him wins the league straight away. He's that good.
He's a monster. He's a monster. Ridiculous. You know? So I think it's great, you know.
We need a 9. We've been saying this since the start of the season. We need not even an old-fashioned 9, but we need a 9. We need somebody whose responsibility is to just score goals, knows where to go in the box, particularly against a low block. And even with, you know, I don't know, maybe Jota can step in and do that now this season, to be honest with you. But we don't have a 9 in our books at the moment.
Yeah. No, I think between the four of them they'll get enough goals. I do think we'll win the league, but you're right, and I've said it for a few years. I'd love a 9, and I'm hoping the plan is there. I'm hoping in January or the summer, because if it isn't, their business model falls apart for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we keep saying it. Next year's the big transfer. I actually thought it was going to be this year. I really did. We've been doing podcasts for I've been doing them 3 years. I thought this was the year, lads. You know, the windows that keep going out. The more the windows go out, the more you're putting pressure on the next year. You know what I mean? The age profile, everything else.
Unless there's a big sugar daddy waiting in the wings, and it's his or her decision.
DIC from Saudi Arabia.
But that's the thing, Keith. That's the thing. They could be planning to walk away. Like
a little Craig Davis.
When you look at these guys, they're not gonna. I'd say they're not gonna realize any more value out of Liverpool than where it is now at the moment.
Yeah, it's at that level now. It's at the highest you probably get.
Now. You know, it's probably actually below without the pandemic. If you go back a year, if the pandemic hadn't happened, you know, maybe that was the level. Now they're probably going right, you know. But like the club is valued at 3 point something billion.
And they got it for 300,
360 or something like that, wasn't it?
Why for 360? Like
not bad.
Nearly 10 times. But I mean, guys, look.
Now we just need to be okay with the whole kind of, you know, selling our soul kind of thing and say we're all right now. We're happy enough to do this. You know, we're not Shankly side anymore. We're not a socialist club anymore. Now we're firmly a capitalist enterprise going forward. So as long as we're all right with that.
The Republic of Liverpool won't like that. But anyway,
there's always trade-offs with these things, isn't it? There's no.
Yeah, it is. What do you guys thinking about? We're talking about Nike. The Nike deal, of course, was a big thing for Liverpool the last few years. See, we're getting all these commercial revenue coming in that we never had before. We were so far behind the likes of United, who are 10 years ahead of us, light years ahead of us. and all of a sudden we've a mega star that you can't even get into on match day. The 3 kits, I won't mention the yellow one. Fuck's sake, the McDonald's outfit. The cream one, the away one, I thought wasn't bad, quite nice. And the home one wasn't bad.
Stone.
Stone, sorry, it's it is Stone. It's Liverpool Stone. But I mean, it's I just the money. I think we do have money to make a signing or two, but as you said, FSG will only spend what they make.
You can't
they won't
have
spend
everything.
what they don't have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically,
you can't have everything, right? So you can't be in the 70s where it was only about football and Shankly and blah blah blah. We have to evolve, and then unfortunately, when you evolve, you have to make compromises. So your core principles of socialism and what I believe to be core to me and my club.
Yeah,
you won't survive if you don't evolve those. And it's funny, like the Spirit of Shankly are having a thing now at the day of the Palace game, right, where they're going to talk about FSG out and blah blah blah. Those fundamentals.
Are they getting on board for that? Spirit of Shankly on board?
No, but they're going to have a march, and their AGM is all about where's the club going, right? So if you want to hold on to, we can't have American owners, and we can't spend, and we can't do this, and we can't regenerate the ground. It doesn't work like that. Compromise is the only way that they're going to move, right? And if the likes of those guys aren't coming along with the club, they should voice their concerns. But if you guys aren't coming and can't relent on some things, we're going nowhere. Like, do you know what I mean? We're going nowhere.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, as you said, 10, 11 years ago, we were sinking ship, lads. I mean, we were literally like the fucking Titanic, and all of a sudden these barges come out somewhere and bring us ashore. Yeah. Basically, I mean, we were.
You're selling your soul to a certain extent, but you have to make a decision. Yeah. Will we exist, or do I go along for the ride and see where it goes? And your core principles as a fan or as a person, as a man, are going to be challenged. And there's things like kind of like a politician where you have to go. Yeah. I have to let go of that.
I like some of his ideas, but the other ideas, I don't know whether I'll vote.
I know I said I didn't like that last week, and I know I'm saying I like it now, but that's how they're the kinds of things. Needs must.
Yeah.
And you know, in the modern game of football, to be, you know, competing at the top end, you need to be significantly funded. There's no two ways about that. We've done what we've done, and like, you know, our spend is up there. We've just been able to sell off our assets to fund that spending, no matter what way you've done it. And we've got the best manager in the world. But, you know, are we looking at kind of going right with another 10 years out in the wilderness before we come back and challenge again?
And nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. I think even if we start putting our hand in our pockets the way Chelsea is geared, the way Manchester United is geared, and the way Man City is geared, even if you stay at the top end and competitive, you might only win 1 league in 4, 1 league in 5. That's what you're looking at, to be honest with you, at the moment, the way all those clubs are geared.
Yeah.
So, you know, and do our current owners have the appetite and the desire from Boston to be in it day after day, week after week, in the trenches, putting their hands in their pockets to do that? I don't think they fucking are, to be honest with you, no matter what way you look at it. So, so if we are to maintain a degree of competitiveness against what we're going against across Europe at the moment, it's difficult to see how that's sustained with the current model, unless there's a complete rip up of the handbook from FSG and they go balls out and just start trying to spend. I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, do you know that Redbird Capital bought, I think it was 10% or 5% of the 10% of the club there just this year. And I was thinking maybe they are trying to get in the back door and try to take it over, get the 51% where you own the club, you know, that way. Maybe over the next 3 or 4 years while Klopp's there, buy a bit every year.
I don't think so.
Was that an investment in Liverpool or an investment in FSG ultimately?
That was FSG, I think. I think it was FSG.
So it's not an investment in LFC. You know, it's an investment in the overall FSG portfolio.
Yeah.
So you know,
it was actually balancing the books. 500 million, more or less balanced the books. That capital that came in balanced all the losses and stuff. You know that, don't you?
For FSG,
basically just kept balanced it out like that.
It's not an investment in Liverpool Football Club, because obviously they've got the Red Sox and other business interests in their portfolio. Things, so it's
absolutely.
Not in that, so.
I think it's an interesting one. You know, if in the next couple of months or years, an Arab or a really rich American or an Abramovich
oligarch
came in
and
said, "I'm going to fund you." What, like, there's a challenge to your core principles of socialism and Shankly football and, you know, working class principles.
Better than the devil, isn't it? I mean, what do you want? What do you want? An oil state, rich?
I don't know who's out there either. To be honest with you, has $3 billion to spend on a football club, and
especially someone who's going to have the core principles of the club at heart, other than money. There's nobody out there.
That goes out the window. To be honest with you,
that goes out the window. Those days are gone.
The fickle nature of fans around the moment, as long as somebody's putting their hands in their pockets, they're probably okay.
Don't care. You don't care.
They don't really care, to be honest with you.
Human rights, everything goes out the window.
Think of ourselves, right? Would it matter to you if there was an Arab or a Russian or whatever, if you could get tickets and go to the game and watch it, and we were still reasonably kind of playing within the rules in terms of buying players and stuff like that? I'm not going crazy in terms of hundreds of millions of players and change it every year. Like where do your own kind of personal boundaries?
I actually think it would be contradictory. I mean, we've been slagging City, calling them, Visa card boys, Chelsea, the plastics, all this for the last 10 years, and all of a sudden some say Saudi Arabia, DIC, that big Saudi, the king, the brown kings, whatever, one of the billionaires bought us and start doing the same thing. You have human rights issues and stuff like that. I don't think they care once they start buying players. I would have a problem. I would have a problem with it, though. I would.
But to the point where you wouldn't support them, or
no? I mean, listen, I'll always support Liverpool. It's whether you support the owners is another thing. You'll always support Liverpool. Owners come and go, managers come and go, players come and go.
I think you want silence.
We win the league by buying a completely new team, by throwing out millions and millions and millions.
Billions.
And you just go.
But that depends on the manager. That depends on the manager who comes in terms of what their philosophy is around that. Like if you've got silent businesses, like ultimately, like FSG are pretty much silent, to be honest with you. The only time you hear about them is when they fuck up. Otherwise, you don't fucking hear about them, right? It's either you hear about them when we've won something, and you hear about them when there's an apology that needs to be made. Other than that, that's it.
It's trophies. It's
I don't think the owners.
He's correct.
I don't think the owners will have any bearing whatsoever, and I don't think they ever have any bearing whatsoever on us as Liverpool Football Club supporters in terms of
legacy fans. Sorry.
No, not even that. Not even that.
Legacy fans.
Just in terms of, like I suppose a lot of clubs on the outside, they'll have their own things in terms of how they are, but. Like there is a narrative that threads through all Liverpool Football Club supporters in terms of, well, most of them, I suppose, there's all the dickheads on Twitter, whatever. But they're like, we all get it, we all buy into it, and we all love it. And I don't think an owner, dictates or decides who we are as football fans, as supporters of the club. It's not the owners of the club. The owners of the club don't dictate you never walk alone. They'll never do that. They'll never be able to override our history. They'll never be able to do any of those kind of things. What they basically are is custodians of the club at a particular point in time, and that's what they are. Yeah. And you just want to make sure that those custodians are doing the best for the club at that particular point in time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't have said it better himself.
The custodians of the club. And if we go back to FSG, I don't think they've been bad custodians at all. They've saved us when we need to be saved. They've invested where they need to invest it. We've been successful underneath them. However, have we not necessarily overgrown them, to be honest with you, but has football changed to such a degree whereby it's very difficult for them in their current model to sustain growth and success on a European-wide level? And that's the question that I would have for them now at the moment. Listen, by the way, if they have the appetite and they've got a plan, I have no issue with FSG whatsoever. If they've no fucking plan, no appetite, and they're looking for the nearest opportunity to clip us into somebody else, well then do it fucking soon and get the fuck, right? And thank you very much.
If we win the league at the Champions League this year, you're fucked.
Yeah.
No, but listen, as I said earlier in the podcast, I think FSG for me have done more good than they've done bad. Sure. So therefore, they're still in the good books with me. They could have. I wanted more this summer, especially forward, as we said. I really did, and I think it could come back to haunt us. I'm hoping it doesn't, but with injuries and stuff. But I still think we're in a very good place, guys, and there's a lot to be positive about. You know what I mean? Get rid of the negativity. Let's look forward to the Leeds game. So I've got a quick. We're going to go now. 30 seconds. I'm going to ask you for your scoreline I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool. Ivan?
3-0.
Well, nice. Keto?
3-1. Hopefully. 3-1.
Any type of win, hopefully. Jesus
but I'll take a scabby 1-0 like our equaliser against Serbia the other night. I'd love something like that. I'd take anything like that.
Anything, absolutely.
So, no, listen. I think it's. Listen, I think we're going to get chances, to be honest with you, and I think if we convert to chances and we're solid at the back, we'll score 1 or 2 more than them. Could be a 3-1, could be a 4-2, something like that, right?
Right, well, lads, I think we'll leave it there. That was an hour of fantastic chat.
Flew along, didn't it?
Oh, an hour, that flew in. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Really
thank you very much to Keith, and thank you very much to Ivan. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks to the comments, guys. Well, Jack Mark is in the house as well. How are you, Jack?
Stuff in there. Really brilliant stuff in there now, to be honest with you, reading through it. You know, like loads of food for thought, to be honest with you.
Rory agrees with you there, 3-1. Jackie boy is, what is Jack saying? Nothing. Eamon's going 2-2. Oh, draw. Okay. But listen, it's not going to be an easy game. I just think 3 points are huge for us. If we can get 3 points there, it's a big statement for us with the other games.
Make sure you go watch it with points. Sunday afternoon, 4:30. Don't be watching at home on your own. Fuck that.
I'll be doing my roast on a Sunday.
Enjoy a few points. Get the roast on early.
Do you know what, Keith? We might get you. We might even get you. I might come up to Keith's house for a roast. He cooks some roast, I'll tell you that much.
Put a slow cook on at 4 o'clock, lads. Ready at 6:30. In the door. Champion. Yeah.
Fuck's sake. And then we've Champions League next week. Guys, it's been brilliant. I'm going for a few beers.
Right.
I have a few beers in the fridge. That's what I'm going for. Thanks very much. Stay safe, guys.
See you later.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See ya.